Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thank you to the Wilmington Business Journal for putting on this event in these extenuating circumstances. I know I've had a chance to hear a lot of good speakers and connect with some folks around the business community. It's been a great chance to do that, um, uh, even though it's been a little bit of a break from it in the past couple of months. It's been great to get back to it. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. We have a little bit of a presentation put together. However, everybody feel free to jump in with questions at any time. Happy to try to have this be as much of a back and forth discussion as possible. But just bear with me one second while I pull up the little presentation that we have for it. All right. My name is Robert Parker. I was born here in Wilmington and started working with K Solar in 2015. We are a kind of mid-sized regional solar installer, um, uh, a big solar installer here in just our little slice of southeastern North Carolina. We do probably about 70% residential projects, so solar for the home, but 30 plus percent is on the commercial and on the business side. And that portion has been growing quite a bit over the past few years. And the reason behind that is as businesses are kind of noticing the ways to decrease their operational costs, looking at the efficiencies in their business, paying attention to their building systems, they've noticed that solar can be a good component with which to do that. So that's kind of what we'll tackle a little bit about today, looking at whether when it makes sense for a business, why businesses have been looking into it and putting up solar projects in the past years, and kind of why it tends to be a growing thing in the region, in the country, and even around the globe. Just a little bit of a 101 look at things, kind of how solar works. Um, Most people probably know the general idea of it, that they are panels that are making electricity, and that becoming usable electricity for the building. So that panel is absorbing the energy from the sunlight, and actually through kind of reaction that's taking place, the electrons are coming off that panel. It has another device called an inverter to convert it from AC electricity, or excuse me, from DC electricity to the usable AC electricity that we use for most of our appliances and electrical equipment in buildings. But once it's doing that, it's actually powering the building itself. So when you're seeing solar on top of a home or a business, it's not just pushing out to the grid as kind of a power plant or something like that, but it's actually kind of like a appliance, a part of the building itself. So thinking of the building as an organism, it's the component of it that's making power and that's being used in the building right at that time. Um, Although when you have a time when the panels happen to be making more electricity than the building needs, many utilities, including Duke Energy and Brunswick Electric, two of the main ones in our region, they actually have an agreement where as that power flows back out to the grid, it'll go up on the utility grid and it'll go to the neighbors, and the utility is selling that to the neighbors, but they're giving the owner of the solar system, the owner of that building, credit for all the power that they're producing. And we can get into that a little bit more with the concept of net metering. And here's just a little bit of how that's going on as well there. So here, I don't know if any of y'all recognize that picture, but as a lot of people know and have experienced, we got a nice, thriving brewing community here in Wilmington, and even in some of the surrounding areas as well. So that is Mad Mole Brewing over off Oleander. Great folks over there and good beer as well, but they also have a nice solar system that we put up for them in 2018 that does about 40% of their electricity needs, which they actually have an electric brewing system there, and it meets all the needs proportionally of what that brewing system does. So cool thing to check out there. And in the beer garden, they have a little bit of a blurb about the solar over there. So interesting thing to check out. So the big question, I feel like on a lot of people's minds, and for businesses that are maybe thinking about solar, have heard about solar, have heard about other businesses doing solar, is all right. Why are they doing this? I mean, is it just all environmental? Is it just purely kind of like a fun thing to do? But as you know, for businesses, the bottom line most of the time is going to be about whether it makes financial sense. And the number one thing that the solar is going to do when it's installed is cut down your utility bill. And that's what it's there for. It's there so you're not purchasing every little bit of your power, but rather you're creating a portion of your power, sometimes a rather large portion, sometimes just a supplemental. But you aren't having to buy every bit of power, and thus are cutting down your operational costs month to month, year to year. Um, Now that happens right away. And so the value of that is in today's dollars when we're kind of breaking down what the solar system is going to do for someone. But the fact of the matter is that utility costs, electricity bills have tended to rise a little bit, and they do fluctuate up and down. But kind of historically, over the last 20 plus years, it's kind of close to like a 2 to 3% increase year over year. Even in last year, I think it was about a 6% increase. And as we need that infrastructure, it's important to have that infrastructure on the utility, but it does go along with increasing costs. Um, and the solar system itself, it's going to continue to produce that power year over year, kind of no matter what. And that price isn't going to fluctuate on the solar. So, say the value of that solar in year one is X, but a couple years later, as the utility costs increase, you're still making the same amount of power, but that power has become more expensive. So, it's an even better thing for you at that point. So, hedging against kind of future rises in electricity rate increases are a big reason why some businesses kind of choose to lock in how much they're paying for power going forward. Gives them a little bit of a clear picture on what things might look like down the road. Not having to maybe worry as much about, well, maybe operationally we're actually going to have to increase the part of the budget that goes to this. Locking it in with solar, they know, okay, that part's fixed. We're not having to worry about having more expenses down the road for that. So yeah, I mean, again, Duke Energy has been really effective for us in the area. But to do that, a lot of times it does require investments in infrastructure, which are important. But for a business, your bottom line is, hey, is there a way that I don't have to pay these rates going up every month and every year? So solar is a way to possibly mitigate some of that. Yeah, it's going to save kind of from day one. Your bill, once you get it in, once you get it installed, it's going to save. But as time goes on, it's going to get better and better. So this actually comes a little bit about like a payback period. The 10-year mark is pretty typical even for residential. Really what we're seeing for commercial payback periods, and that's kind of just a simple payback period of, hey, I invested this much in it. How long will it take for me to get my money back and kind of start being ahead? A lot of times for commercial, especially the larger size, it's closer to 6 years, 6 to 8 years of a payback period. And a lot of that has to do with what is going on in terms of the tax incentives that along with it, coupled with the electricity savings month to month. In terms of kind of whether it adds value to a home or business is always kind of a question that can be contentious sometimes, but I never really like to, try to be too definitive about that, because everybody looking into a property is going to have their own reasons for why they want to buy it. And solar is a lot of times going to be a kind of small part of that. But the bottom line is, if you're going to look at two similar properties, the one having solar on it and the other not, the one having solar is going to have substantially lower month-to-month operational costs. So obviously there's tons of things that you're weighing in terms of the value of the property, and that's just a small component. But when the bottom line is, hey, I'm paying $200 a month in electricity bills instead of $1,400 a month in electricity bills, that can certainly have some value and matter to folks. Again, I spoke a little bit about the tax incentives that are available, and for companies that have that tax appetite, that are uh, successful, and coming along with that, having to pay those income taxes that may be there for them. Solar is a really nice route, and a pretty unique route on the credit side to kind of reposition, redirect the flow of those resources from your tax payment to an asset that's going to be on your building. And we'll talk about warranty a little bit as well, which is 25 years for most of the components. But when you're able to redirect 26% of the costs, sometimes on a large project, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, that would be a tax payment, into a long-term asset on your building, that's going to help it be a higher performing building. It's going to help your operational costs be steady and low going forward. That's an attraction for a lot of businesses. And so that is something that we see as a reason why quite a few look into solar, and when they kind of break down the financial aspects of that and seeing that part of it, that's a big thing for them. It also, the remaining part, so that remaining 74% of the value of the solar system, when that can also be bonus depreciated in the first year. So there's other tax advantages there too. That part isn't so unique. I mean, there's lots of equipment that you can do that with. It's not as unique as the tax credit component of it, but it can be very helpful to businesses as well. So we do want to make sure that they know that that's available to them. When we put together a design and a proposal, we're really just trying to be kind of a guide through it. Obviously, you're going to have to do your own assessments, talk with your own, whether financial advisors or financial officers on staff, make sure everybody's situation is different. But these are the kind of the things that you can look for, because if you're able to take advantage of them, they can be really beneficial. The other thing, and it's a little more fickle than the other two, is the Duke rebate. So Duke Energy has had a solar rebate since, I believe, 2018. So it's just a one-time payment that they give out for commercial businesses, residences, and nonprofits that have gone solar through Duke Energy. The value for commercial is at 50 cents per watt. So for each watt, and say like a 20 kilowatt system is rather typical. But a little bit on the small side, then you would get $10,000 as a rebate from Duke Energy if you had a 20 kW system. We've done systems in the area over 100 kilowatts, over 400 kilowatts. So they get that rebate too, but it is capped at 100 kW, so it's capped at $50,000. But again, that's a really nice bonus to get, a very generous program from Duke Energy. So those that are able to take advantage of that, and we have quite a few customers, including Live Oak Bank and Coastal Beverage, that have been able to take advantage of that rebate. So this is also available to residential customers as well at 60 cents a watt, but capped at 10 kilowatts, so a maximum of $6,000. And then for nonprofit customers, they bump it up even a little bit more to 75 cents a watt, up to $100,000, up to 100 kilowatts, excuse me. So it can be up to a $75,000 rebate for nonprofit customers. And while, like I said, it's a generous program and a nice program from Duke Energy, it isn't a guarantee like the other two. It's a limited capacity program. It opens up on the 2nd of January every year, and it closes or it gets full about 16 to 20 minutes after it's opened up. And that was last year, and so this year might be even faster. So it's first come, first serve right now, and it's how fast you're kind of clicking your mouse and typing in your keyboard to apply for it that morning. So it's a little bit fickle there. When we put things together for folks, we try to make sure, hey, you want to be comfortable with this investment outside of the Duke rebate, but we'll also do everything we can, and you should do everything you can on your end too, to recognize that this is a really nice incentive to have, and we'll do all the applicable stuff to get you set up for it. But you want to be comfortable with your investment outside of the Duke rebate. It's just kind of a sweetener on it. However, for the nonprofit space, and we're working with a few nonprofits, including the school system, there's actually a lot of room. So for nonprofits out there, you're not having that 16 to 20 minute window on January 2nd. There's actually capacity right now, and we're just a few months from the end of the year. So there is space in the nonprofit to be able to get that rebate. Largely, a lot of that comes from they can't take advantage of the tax credit most of the time because they're not paying income taxes. But yeah, definitely encourage nonprofits that are interested in it to maybe look into the Duke rebate some, because it's a little bit more available, a little bit more of a sure thing for them versus how it is for the commercial and residential side. So right over there, that's the system that we did on Coastal Beverage. They got an awesome building out there on 421 that in the Pender County Industrial Park, which has been a great thing to all those who have helped bring that to the area. Some great businesses out there. And as you can see, there's a lot of real estate up on their roof surface that they wanted to take advantage of. The sun is up there beating down on it every single day. Obviously, they have like areas around those HVAC units that need room to be serviced. But other than that, it's kind of just roof space that's sitting there as kind of a latent thing. So they took advantage of that asset that they had and put up a solar system, get that tax savings, and getting that kind of internal rate of return. It's pretty steady because Duke has that program for them of net metering that's in there. The sun is going to come up every day, hopefully, and it's just going to make power, and they're going to save money on their electric bill every single day, every single hour that the sun is up, and not having to, kind of turn it on every morning or actively monitor it. It's just there as a kind of a nice passive asset that's up there taking advantage of that roof space that they have. And again, a lot of times businesses looking at the payback, it can be quite a bit different, than buying a certain machine or something for your business that you expect, all right, this needs to pay itself off in a year at the very most, or something like that. It's a shorter lifespan than maybe the solar would be, even with like a 6-year payoff. But kind of the bottom line is the money on taxes and electricity isn't something that you can avoid paying. Over that span of time, you're going to pay the money one way or another. If you're going to keep the lights on in your business, and you're going to pay the taxes that you have to. So this is a way to say, hey, I know I'm going to have to pay this money regardless. Why don't I try to have a little bit more control of it? Why don't I try to have own it rather than rent my power every month? So that's a little bit of what solar is able to get you to do, able to allow you to have a little bit more control. So say, hey, I know I'm going to have to spend this money. Maybe I'll spend it on an asset that I own. And then in 6-7 years, instead of, all right, I spent the money and now I'm still just doing the same thing every day. Now I have spent the money and I have an asset on my roof that is saving me money every single day, and it's just generating a nice, consistent return that I'm not having to mess with. So that's a big attraction to being a passive deal. And then the warranty on the panels themselves is an important thing. There's many different manufacturers on this project, and on a lot of other projects. We used a company called SunPower. So they have a 25-year warranty on their modules that includes labor to replace them. includes a full replacement, not just kind of a prorated payment. You're going to get a new panel to go in that space, even if it's in the year 22 down the road. They're a company that's been in business for over 30 years. So they've been around longer than their warranty, which is important to us. We're using panels with that kind of promise. Cape Fear Solar ourselves, that's what they're at the bottom. Like I said, we've been around since 2007. So, I mean, we hope to be in the area a lot longer going forward, but we do have a lot of experience in this area, and we'll stand by it. But you not only have the backing from us, but the manufacturer as well. So even if we were to go away, they've been around even longer, so they can get you that new panel if something did happen. Again, this is kind of that passive asset thing that I was talking about. But one key component to add into that is that as you're, day to day, everything is tracked and connected to the internet, whether it's your business's internet. Sometimes that's not feasible, or obviously certain business have IT sensitivity, and if it needs to be on a different network, it always can. It can be on its own cell network even, but it's connected to the internet, so you're able to monitor the performance of your system day to day. You're able to have that as logged data, so you can go back and look, verify that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So say, hey, you said this was going to generate this much or low for the past few months. What's going on here? Also, if there's a issue with any components of the system, you'll get an alert on it. We'll also get an alert. We have the monitoring system for all the systems that we've installed, so we're able to diagnose things remotely a lot of times. And then the manufacturer, whether it's SunPower, one of our other manufacturers like a Solar Edge, they have access to that too. So when we're going through diagnosing stuff, some experts on the other end can be able to see, hey, I'm seeing this possible issue here, send you this replacement part and get you taken care of. So even though, like I said, the maintenance is super low, there is that check on that too. So there's monitoring on the system to ensure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and you can verify that. And again, as I mentioned, when people and business owners, even customers are looking into solar, there's all kinds of motivations. Like I said, a lot of times the financial one is the one, you really want to make sure, because a lot of time, especially when you're running a business, you have a responsibility to do things that are in the best interest of the business. But the environmental factor can't be ignored on solar. It really is a great piece of technology and what it can do in such a clean and reliable way. It's literally just taking a resource that's just so abundantly available to us. I mean, we have the sun beating down on us every day, it seems like, in the summer, and it's just causing lots of heat and stuff from the sun, and then we're turning on AC unit to try to get rid of that heat, but the power from that AC unit is coming from hundreds of miles away, that we had to dig out of the ground and burn just to combat what the sun is doing to our indoor spaces. So it just makes a lot of sense to, hey, why not use this incredible piece of energy that we're trying to fight against and take advantage of some of that energy as it's beating down on us. And so it's really kind of beautiful how that can work. And so many roof spaces are so conducive to it, to just be able to take that energy that's there, and you're just changing it into electricity that can be used right on site, right in the building. And then it also, the extra goes up on the grid, and the excess is being used as clean power on the grid for your neighbors as well. And then, of course, there's the marketing aspect of that as well. We love to do kind of videos with our customers, so they can share that with their customers, show them what they're doing, show them that they're trying to be responsible stewards of the environment, trying to work on having a well-performing building. So that's certainly a factor too on that both environmental and marketing side, because it is a really clean form of energy. I'm sure there's kind of things that folks have heard about environmental issues with panels, but really, if you look into life cycle assessments, the panels that we use are also cradle to cradle certified. So at the end of life components, there's a plan for them to be recycled and reused. The amount of energy, when you talk about a payback period, the energy payback period for the amount of energy it takes to extract the materials from a panel and manufacture it is under 2 years in the amount of energy that'll make once it's out and performing. So it certainly makes up for any kind of manufacturing process that energy takes there. I don't know if any of y'all caught Betsy Kahn from Copycat Print Shop was on a great discussion yesterday. I was able to catch that. It was really interesting. But they have a nice solar array on their building too. Their wonderful new building off Kerr Avenue. So we're proud to do that for them. And here's a little picture of it. And so they got it up there, saving them money every month. I'm going to try to play this video. I talked about that we like to do this with some of our customers. I know that it can be a little bit tricky sometimes switching over screen share, so please bear with me. Let's see if I can do it.
Hi, I'm Robert Parker with Cape Fear Solar Systems here at Farm Fresh Produce, where they're using the power of the sun not only to grow their sweet potatoes, but also to power their facility. This system consists of 260 sun-powered photovoltaic panels delivering 91 kilowatts of power, saving them thousands each year in operational costs.
I'm Steven Ciccarelli. I'm CEO of Farm Fresh Produce. You know, I should have done this a lot earlier. My family's always been about sustainability or recycling and just, you know, doing a lot more towards carbon footprint and, you know, contributing as much as I can. Most of our customer base, a lot of our businesses export, and we kind of have a lot of share the same ideas or ideologies in that regard. So for us, it just made sense to try this out. I got a 2- and 3-year-old. Question of basically showing them that some things, you know, it's not always about business. Looking at it from a profit and loss standpoint of it, putting a message out there in terms of being a little bit more responsible. Really, what we were anticipating was maybe interruption in our business during the whole process, and that really was not a factor at all. We were able to go about our business just like every day. At the same time that Cape Fear was installing the system for us. It's just been a great transaction.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking the time to check that out. So that's Farm Fresh Produce in Clinton, North Carolina, just up the road.
तालाब के पानी के जलाशय के जो पेड़ पौधे हैं उनके ऊपर यानी
Robert, you doing okay? You need any technical help?
Sorry about that. I think some second video after that started playing. Let me get back to the presentation. Again, so that was Farm Fresh Produce up the road in Clinton, North Carolina. We did that system about, I think, almost 3 years ago now. So let me get back to that slide. So we did that system about 3 years ago now. I think in the agricultural space, it really is a cool application for solar. You know, it makes a lot of sense intuitively that plants and things that they're working with are grown by the sun is an important part of the process there. And now they're taking that energy source and using it to power their business as well. So And that was a great project for them. It's been performing well. And you can kind of see the wide open space located on that building is really conducive to being able to put up a solar array. Here at home, obviously, we have a lot of local businesses that have taken advantage of solar, but it's not a unique situation at all. We have national companies, international companies that have made a point and made clear, measurable goals of how they're going to be able to use solar in the future, and are currently implementing it on both their headquarters, all of their places, and globally, nationwide and globally wide, of using rooftop solar at their locations. Everything from Apple. I know the Target here in Wilmington has solar panels on top, which a lot of people may not know. But there's lots of sustainability goals, measurable sustainability goals for those folks there that they're, of course, doing for environmental reasons, but also for being able to save money, and they recognize the financial reasons for it too. I mean, these businesses obviously want to kind of outwardly be good stewards and everything, but they're making decisions based on economics quite often too, and they see that value with solar. So we also did a installation on Live Oak Bank, really one of the companies that we're really proud of to have in Wilmington. I know as a native Wilmingtonian, someone who grew up here, it's been really great to see Live Oak grow in the area. It was really a proud thing for me to be able to work on that project, to design and put that project together, because they had a really cool campus, so we're happy we could add to it with a nice solar project. I'm going to skip over the video for right now. Maybe we can come back to it if we have time, so we don't have to do kind of the switch over and everything, but it'll be available. I'll definitely suggest to check that out. If you kind of want to talk to anybody about their installation over there, there's a few folks I'm sure happy to talk about it. But I'll go ahead and move on to kind of looking at, again, I mentioned looking at that farm fresh image and video. You can really tell, okay, maybe that's what is the building that's right for solar, and want to reiterate that again. When you're looking your business to see if it's right for you, number one, a lot of times is if you're able to make upfits to the building. I know there could be lease agreements and stuff with the building that the business is in, and even if you're allowed to make upfits, it might not make sense to do that kind of long-term investment. So if it is, your building, that makes it an easier choice a lot of times. Although I definitely don't want to dissuade the possibility of long-term leases being able to use solar as well, because that's definitely possible. Then the kind of real important factor, you see south-facing roof there, but the number one thing is the sun exposure. Shade is the main enemy. Solar, I mean, people talk about tilt and some of these other things, but it really, the main thing that matters is you can always make it work if you have a really sunny area, not a lot of tree coverage. It can be facing due east or due west or even a little bit north and still make sense if there's plenty of sun exposure. But with that being said, southern facing roof surface is number one. It is the best for solar, but we do a lot of flat roof surfaces as well, tilt the panels south. And then it kind of has that bullet point of electrical bills there. If you have a certain offset goal, then that's the kind of thing that we would look at is, okay, do you have the roof surface to be able to meet that offset goal of 15, 20, 40, 80% of offsetting your bill, even 100%. We have some businesses we've done that for as well. So that's a thing to look at, and kind of what rate structure you're on with Duke Energy or whoever your provider is an important thing to look at as well. So just to wrap up on the design part, what we do for interested folks is take a look at the building, build like a 3D model of it, kind of work with them to place panels in a place that they're comfortable with, and then show, okay, this is how much energy it would create over time. and then this is how much that would translate into savings. This is the tax savings. And we try to lay that all out as clear and easy to understand as possible as kind of the way to get the conversation started. Again, everybody's situation is going to be different. So those inputs can be kind of changed and modified a little bit from there. But we want to give you the tools to be able to view all right, what exactly is this going to look like, so I can make a really educated decision on it. And we put those together. That's not like a fee that we charge on the consulting side. I mean, a lot of what I feel like we're charged with as solar providers in this area, as the solar provider that's been serving this area for the longest, kind of most prolifically, is we want to be an educational resources as much as we can as well, even if that doesn't always translate into direct business. This is, again, the community that I grew up in, and we're growing, and I love that a lot. And it's inevitable that we're going to continue to grow here in Wilmington. I just want to have that chance to affect that change and affect that growth of it, trying to be kind of as sustainable and thoughtful as possible. So anyone that's kind of looking at a new building, anyone that's moving into a new building or has even been established for a long time and wants to see, hey, how can I make this a little bit of a higher performing building? How can I possibly decrease the carbon footprint on the building as well? Happy to try to help work and put that together with y'all. But the next slide is just about questions. So I don't know if I've seen anything in the chat feature just yet, but if anybody has anything at all they'd like to bring up or as a discussion topic or a question, I'd be happy to speak with you. Do you know if we have anything, Maggie?
I don't see anything, Robert. Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? We've got just a few more minutes. I'm sure Robert would love to answer your questions this afternoon. I guess I have a question. How quickly or how often is the technology changing with solar since you started, in the industry? Does it change, often or?
All right. If there are any questions, maybe we can watch that next video. I'll be happy to try to see if I can get that pulled up.
Oh. There's a question, Robert.
All right. Well, yeah, it looks like one came through. Thank you, John. The 25-year warranty, definitely, it does apply in coastal areas. We do make sure that the panels that we work with, there are some panels that have a clause about high salt environments that the warranty does not apply. So that's an important thing to look at when you are looking at the components of the system, to take a look at that, that it doesn't have any kind of qualifications like that. So the panels that we use are rated for high salt environments. Hurricane resistance, however, is a little bit different of a question outside of the warranty. That's more of the actual workmanship that's going on with the system. So we have to put together a building permit, engineered plans, just like anyone would building a structure, building a building. And with the current building code that's around, it needs to be for 140 mile an hour wind zones for most of our area. So that all our systems are designed and certified by a professional engineer, and then inspected both by the county or whatever the authority is and the engineer for being installed to meet that hurricane resistance. A good portion of that, though, where that warranty doesn't apply is if, say, there was kind of like flying debris or something like that. I mean, obviously, that can be kind of a rare occasion. The panels are rated for hail, they're rated for impact, but like a large falling tree, I mean, that's going to take out just about anything, and even including the solar panels. So kind of that debris, that would be part of a building insurance or homeowner's insurance component for that kind of damage. But wind and
It looks like we may have some technical difficulties. Oh, there you are. You froze for a minute.
seems like we might be having. So just want to verify, did y'all get the answer to that question? I don't know, there could have been a little technical issue there. Were you able to hear the answer to that question, do you know? Okay, great. Yeah, well, if anybody, I'll give a few seconds for more questions. I'll play this final video. Maybe we'll have some come in, and then we can kind of check in from back then.
Now we have a gratitude response from Harris Whitesell Consulting, and then Matt sent the link for the executive and leadership series videos.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you all so much. Hopefully you can still hear me and we're able to see that. If there's any other questions, feel free to ask away. But if not, thank you. I'll take care and appreciate your time.
I also just want to say briefly that Robert will be back at 12:30 for a roundtable discussion, and we hope you can join us then as well. All right, thanks, Robert. It was a great conversation. Good
No problem.
discussion.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care, everyone.